During World War II, a teenage American pilot and 7 airmen of the U.S. Navy were surrounded by Japanese forces in the Pacific Ocean after their planes crashed. All the soldiers were captured, killed, and the others were eaten by Japanese officers, except for one person who miraculously survived. And this person would soon become the president of the most powerful country in the world. Who is this person, and how did he survive? This is his amazing story.
MTV Facts. Yeah.
The hero of this story is a normal 17-year-old teenager who is about to graduate from Phillips Academy in Andover, Massachusetts in America. But on December 7, 1941, the Japanese suddenly attacked and bombed Pearl Harbor. Little did he know that this event would change the course of his life forever. Just after the bombing, the people in America felt great anger, and with the intensity of their patriotism, there were many young people who were tempted to become soldiers to join the war so that America could take revenge, and this young teenager is not an exception. Because he was not of the right age, he thought at first of becoming a soldier in Canada. But he found an opportunity to become an aviator in the U.S. Navy, because they accept younger aviators during those time. So when he turned 18 and graduated in 1942 from Phillips Academy, he immediately joined the U.S. Naval Reserve. After just 1 year, he became the youngest pilot in the U.S. Navy at the age of 19. In 1944, he was assigned to the aircraft carrier San Jacinto as one of the pilots of the planes that would target the islands occupied by the Japanese in the Pacific Ocean. At the young age of 19, he became one of the most experienced pilots of the U.S. Navy in just 1 year, so he was immediately promoted to lieutenant junior. He also took part in one of the biggest aerial battles in June 1944, in the Philippine Sea against the Japanese. But on the last day of the war, he was forced to crash land in the water, but he and his companions on were lucky, thanks to the destroyer USS Clarence K. Bronson, which saved them. But he was not so lucky the second time. While his group of 4 bombers was on its way in the afternoon on September 1944, to bomb the communications tower on Chichijima Island in Japan. They were immediately greeted by a strong anti-aircraft attack, which was quietly awaiting their arrival. His airplane was immediately hit as he rushed towards the tower that was their target, so it immediately caught fire. But this did not stop the young pilot to release the bomb they were carrying, so he hit and destroyed the tower even though his plane was full of smoke. The young pilot quickly flew away towards the aircraft carrier San Jacinto, but his airplane was about to explode, so they were forced to eject and parachute into the sea. Besides him, 8 other American aviators in his group fell into the water. The young pilot saw his plane crash into the sea, explode and slowly swallowed up by the ocean until it disappeared from his sight. But this is just the beginning of his ordeal. It was difficult for him to swim. Due to the weight of his wet uniform, he had a wound on his head, and his eyes were hurting from the smoke of the airplane cockpit. Fortunately, he fell near the life raft, so he quickly swam to it. The problem was that the wind was strong at that moment, blowing the life raft in the direction of the island, which was full of Japanese troops. At this point, he was already seen by the Japanese soldiers, and immediately sent boats to attack him, but it was stopped with the help of American planes that shot at the boats so they could not get close to him. For 4 hours, the Japanese boats continued to attack him and his companions, and the planes continued to protect them from above. Several bullets almost hit him from the Japanese boats during those 4 hours. His ordeal only ended when the rescue submarine USS Finback arrived. But his 7 other colleagues were not as lucky, as they were all caught by the Japanese and taken to the island. his fellow soldiers suffered severe torture and suffering at the hands of the Japanese on the island of Chichi-jima. Everyday beatings and stabbing with sharp bamboo sticks in the body is what they got. The most cruel of all, they were killed one by one and made into food for the Japanese officials. At the command of a Major Matuba, a Japanese surgeon, Dr. Taraki, mercilessly cut up the body parts of dead Americans for the officers to eat. On one occasion, Dr. Taraki sliced the liver of a soldier and made it into sashimi, after Major Matuba, the island commander, General Toshio Tachibana, ate it while drinking sake, which is a favorite drink of the Japanese soldiers. They did this inhumane act to 4 other American soldiers, whom they captured on the island. The young pilot had no idea what happened to his colleagues while recovering in the hospital. In November 1944, the young pilot returned to service on the aircraft carrier San Jacinto and continued fighting against the Japanese forces in the Philippine Sea. But just a few months later, their entire fleet was forced to return to America due to the severe damage it received at the hands of the Japanese. And in September 1945, he completely retired as a pilot in the Navy at the age of 21. In total, he flew 58 combat missions, 126 aircraft carrier landings, 1,228 flight hours, and because of his mission on Chichi-jima Island, he was awarded the prestigious Flying Cross Award. In 1946, the Japanese officers who committed cannibalism were convicted in the International Court. After the war, he continued to study at Yale University. He lived in Texas with his family and became the head of the largest intelligence agency in the world, the CIA. And on January 20, 1989, George H.W. Bush became the 41st President of the United States. Because of the book Flyboys, released in 2003, about the exploits of American soldiers in World War II, only then George H.W. Bush knew what happened to his fellow soldiers at Chichi-jima Island in 1944. For him, that experience was the most important event that changed his life, until he died in 2018 at the age of 94 years old.